Hello and welcome to the Divine Self-Care Conversation Series, where I get to invite people that I admire and adore to have a conversation about the topic that I think about the most, which is self-care and how to be divinely aligned with your purpose in a way that feels good, but also brings the success that you're craving in a way that doesn't burn you out, in a way that makes you feel nourished and not overwhelmed. And we share the mistakes that we've made. And the guests have created amazing success in a way that looks good and feels good and is amazing. So hopefully you'll get some tidbits of wise advice and inspiration today. And I'm so excited to welcome Briana Borten, the founder of The Dragon Tree, which I have a personal experience with, which somehow led to right this moment, which is how all synchronicities happen. So I'm going to share that real quick. And then Briana, I'll invite you to introduce yourself and share about the work that you do and the many layers of work that you do. Because it seems like there's this sort of many pieces of the puzzle that you are somehow very gracefully managing, I'm sure internally. Not always, but that's okay. That's life. Yeah. So last year I was co-teaching a retreat at Brighton Bush, which is in just south of Portland. And it was a dance, desire, and divine self-care retreat. And of course I was teaching divine self-care, meditation, and all this stuff. Anyway, so 3.5 days of dancing and walking and all of that. My feet were ready to just relax. And so I had an hour before my plane took off, and I was just walking the airport, which is what I like to do before I sit for a few hours. So I came across this spa, and I just sort of piqued my interest because it was beautiful and dark and no candles. And as I walked in, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to celebrate my retreat, this retreat with a massage for myself. But what do I want to do? I didn't really feel like getting undressed. So I got a 45-minute, maybe 35-minute foot massage, which is my absolute favorite. Love the products, love the people, really just it left an impression. So I've been telling everyone, you have to go to the Dragon Tree when you're in Portland, get a massage, book your flight in a way that you have time because it's really fun. I mean, I love getting massages. So fast forward to, I think it was like November or December, and somebody I follow online had posted a review of planners. And one of the planners was this Dreambook, the Rituals for Living. So I teach rituals. Ritual is one of my, most sort of used words in my vocabulary, and I teach them quite a bit. And there was a mandala on the cover, and it was white. So instantly drawn to it, instantly ordered it, received it. I was like, oh, I love this. This is amazing. And I opened it, and I see the Dragon Tree. I'm like, wait a minute, I know that. So I went to your website, and it just sort of came together, and I saw your beautiful video of how this was created. And I'm like, I need to give this to the women in my group. It's so aligned. I teach with the mandala as a visual to get your core sort of most important containers in your life. And I'm obviously drawn to mandalas, as you can see on my wall. So, and now I'm drawn to you, and I love what you're doing, and the fact that you're doing it as a mom of several, right? And a wife, and you're just creating such beautiful things in the world. So that was my long introduction to how I got to you, because I reached out and I'm like, Briana, I love what you're doing. Do you want to do an interview? And you said yes. So here we are. So if you could, first of all, thank you so much for being here and for sharing what you do with my audience, who I know is going to fall in love with you like I did. Can you share a little bit about how this book came to be, and also what you're doing in the world? And I know it evolves all the time, but what you're doing now in the world and how you got there.
Yeah. So that's a big question, but I'll just kind of dive in, and you can ask questions as you want to. But
Okay.
So I started the Dragon Tree as a spa. So originally it was, just a physical location. We have now 2 spas in Portland and 1 in Boulder, Colorado, which is where I live now. And so we started kind of along that path, and then we had a bunch of products that we used in services, because I really love being able to create things and have them have no chemicals in them and know exactly what's in them. And, every ingredient, because you just mixed it together. And so we started to do that. And then all of our clients were like, we want this at home. And so we started to package that and started our apothecary line. So we have a whole line of products, from herbal tinctures to a bath and body line that we sell through the spa online. And now we sell it through lots of retailers all across the country, which is really wonderful. And then from there, my husband and I have always really been interested in personal development and self-care that happens beyond just when you're at the spa or just applying lotion or just like taking your tincture, because it is so much this idea of a different mindset around like what you're doing with your life. And we found a lot of people are feeling like, oh, I really love what you do, but I'm having a hard time creating my life to feel really balanced. And so we kind of looked at like, well, we both have different skills and what really works for us. And we've been doing our way of planning and thinking about what we want to do with our year and our lives together. And so we thought, well, what if we put that into a book and shared it with other people? And it's just been phenomenally successful. I think it's really what our audience really wanted, and it's helped us connect a lot to other audiences as well, which has been really fun. So that's what we've been doing recently. And then we just released a new magazine as well, which is called Well, and it is an Instagram only magazine, which I love because it's a great way to highlight what people are doing on Instagram, which is just amazing to me that there's this platform that we are all going to, and people can be like, it's social media, but I feel like it's art. Like, people are really beginning to see art all around them, which I think is so beautiful. And I think it's even though some people say it's like a way that we're disconnecting from each other, I feel like in a lot of ways it's a way of connecting with what's around us and seeing the beauty. So we really value that. And so we wanted to put that in a magazine with a bunch of articles from other experts in the healing world. So, physical, spiritual, mental healing, and get articles from them that are really insightful and useful in creating a beautiful life, and putting these things together in a magazine has just been really fun. So we released our second issue of that today, which has been really great.
I saw the cover and it was beautiful. And I love what you're saying, because I think anything could be seen through the lens of, dark or light, or, bad or good, or right or wrong. And I love that you have this lens on social media being a way to connect and a way to see art. And I totally agree with you. It's just about that mindfulness, and not, obviously when you're connected to it all day long, you're not being mindful of other things in your life. So that does happen. But when you can use it as this way to bring beauty into your life and to really appreciate how people see the world, because that's what we're seeing, is how people see the world. I mean, you can look at someone's profile and see exactly how they're, what's most important to them. And I love that. So you said something earlier about self-care, people started seeing what you were doing. And for anyone, I'm going to put a link below to that video that you and your husband created for this book, because I thought it was so good. And I felt like I knew you afterwards. And I thought it was so amazing on so many levels, because not only, here you are, this mom of, did you have 3 kids? Two kids. Okay. So 2 kids, you're running a business, a physical business, and now an online business. You're making your own products, and now you have a book. And the beautiful thing that I saw, which I strive for in my own life, is this, deep, intimate connection with my partner, my husband of 16 years. And here you are co-creating something. And even in the video, you could see how you both have different ways of doing things, but you're sort of coming together to create something that's really beautiful. Yeah. So when you were putting it together, and of course I see through the lens of self-care, let's start with this. What does self-care mean to you, and how does it infuse your business? Like, how do you apply that to what you're creating, which looks like a lot, and it probably is a lot, but how do you apply what you feel self-care is into how you then create in your business life?
Yeah, it's so interesting, because I feel like my whole brand is about self-care, right? So it's like something that we're writing about and thinking about all of the time. And so it's an interesting thing to then have that in your own life. And actually, it was I've been doing my own Dreambook work for the year in the last couple of weeks, and just continuously reflecting back on like what's really important to me. And, I think self-care is really different for everyone. Like it isn't going to look like a spa day to everyone, though it should. But, everyone is different though, like my dad, like if I were to be like, go to a spa for a day to my dad, he'd be like, that sounds like hell, not like self-care. So it's just like everyone is different. And so I actually thought like the questions that we ask in the beginning of the dream book kind of connect you back to what it is that you really, really want. And I think that then attending to those things is kind of the ultimate self-care. So I was writing in mine personally, like a lot of it to me is about community and friendships and closeness with my kids and my husband and my family. And so I know that for some women, like spending like intense time with their kids feels like not self-care. That's like what they do all day. And maybe it's, stressful, and that's totally okay. And so they want to remove themselves for their self-care. And for me, I feel like my self-care sometimes feels like diving into that. And then sometimes it feels like taking a long hot bath. It varies a lot, but I think that one of the things is just getting those self-care things into your calendar so it's not an afterthought to life. Because I know that for myself, when I'm not dutifully caring for this one, I'm not very good at doing anything else. And there's a lot that we do, and I have a ton on my plate. And I feel like when I exercise, when I'm, taking hot baths a couple times a week and taking time to read and taking time to journal and taking time to meditate, I'm just better at all the things I have to do. And when I stop doing those things, that all just falls apart, and I still have to do those things, but I'm just not as good at it. So I do really think that there's this place where there's this balance of the more you take care of yourself, the actually more productive you can be. And it seems like so many people that want to get so much done have a hard time slowing down enough to actually be able to get that much done.
Absolutely. I mean, we're definitely soul sisters here because I'm all about the baths and, integration, but I love what you said, which is so crucial that so many women get hung up on this, self-care has to look this way, or I have to, I feel so guilty because I feel like I have to do it away from my kids, and, all those resentment type of things start building up. But I love that because it really is. And I totally in full agreement is that asking these questions that you ask, and I've started doing the process. Asking those questions is really the first step. Asking yourself better questions, and then allowing you as a mom, wife, whatever, to really embrace the idea that when you do take care of yourself, you do have more to give, and everything you do is sort of better and lit up more. And with that, it looks so different for everyone. Like not everyone is meant to be anything. Like, for me, self-care looks very different. Like I'm taking this with me this weekend when I go on a retreat to end my launch of my year-long program. And that's my gift to myself. So I do at some points get away from my family, but I totally get what you're saying. Diving into that play with your kids can also be very nourishing because especially as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of pulls on your time, right? There's things that need to get done. There's packages that need to get reviewed and the magazine and all of that. And so there is a lot already taking you away from your kids. So when it comes to trying to plan for your business and all the things that it brings up, because I'm sure there are busier seasons and there are, kind of ups and downs to the activity level that you have to keep up to have all these things running at the same time. How do you apply that philosophically to your business plan or your schedule, or how you choose what projects you're going to say yes to? Because that's a big part of self-care, is figuring out what's yes, what's a no. How do I figure that out? So how do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that going back to kind of like, what are your overarching goals for, your year, 3 years, your lifetime, and seeing like, okay, you start to see real trends, and then trying to like map out what you are planning for your day based on that. Because so often, and it happens in seasons too. Like some days you have like just a day you have to just work, and that happens. And I think that like not beating ourselves up that happens is also really important, because so much self-care is like the internal game that we're doing. But I also think that like kind of mapping out your days and your weeks so that you are inviting in those things consistently, because, it's like how you live every day. If you aren't conscious of it, by the end of your life, you can look back and be like, oh my gosh, I just spent all my time working, or I didn't get, any of my major goals for the world accomplished because you're too stuck in like the mundane. And so I think that really looking at like the overarching theme that you're going for and trying to invite some of that in every day. And if you don't have it one day, like to do like I forgive myself for that, and that's okay. And I can do it tomorrow, or, just making sure that you're continuously working on bringing that in. Cause I know there are days where I don't have time to meditate. Like my 1-year-old, I wake up with her in the morning and it's like, go, go, go all day. And there's not a moment to meditate. And I just think like, I'm not going to beat myself up, and I'm not going to say my meditation practice is over for one day. Tomorrow I can wake up earlier. I'll meditate in the morning because it makes me feel good. And then you move from there, So I think that kind of like infusing your life with the overall energy that you want is really useful, and continuously going back to what your bigger goals are consistently is really helpful. And I know that for me, it can be something that I find kind of hard, because you're being like in the middle of June, you like forgot what you wanted for your life in January. And so that's like one of the reasons we put everything in one book, because I feel like if you have it with you all the time, you'll continuously reference that point. And I think that being like self-referencing in that way is very helpful.
Yeah, I love that, because you have to keep sort of checking back in with yourself. So it becomes a path versus January 1st, I'm going to do this, and that's going to be my filter for the year. But then by June, you're just sort of gotten busy and forgotten what your point is. So I love that. And I love I was looking through the part, and I'll put the links, like even just sort of knowing what your weekly priorities are, monthly, and then yearly, and then you can sort of reverse engineer, which is how I love to do it too. Like, if I want this to happen by June, what do I need to do today to start that sort of moving? And I love that that's really all built in there. One question came up for me, since you do a lot, and I know one of the things that, in fact, we have a whole month dedicated to creating a circle of support above and around you, meaning, there's certain kind of support that is like a coach or a mentor or an advisor. Then there's a support that is sort of peer support, where you're brainstorming and giving each other reality checks. And then there is sort of this foundational support, which could be assistants or designers or people that do things so that you don't have to, and probably do them better than you because that's their thing. So when you think of putting together your business in this sort of supported way, do you have a team? Do you have how does it run behind the scenes?
Oh my gosh, I feel like I have so many people in my life that support me. And I'm really grateful for that. We have a ton of staff. Because we do services and things that I don't do those services, so other people do. And then I have managers that manage my spa. I have a manager who manages our apothecary. I have somebody who kind of keeps me on track to make sure our projects, our project manager, to make sure that she gets all the parts from everyone. So that's kind of like our team. I feel really supported by my family. Even my 8-year-old daughter. My 1-year-old, I don't feel super supported by. I love her, but she's not that supportive yet. But my 8-year-old is. She's like always saying like she's so glad that I do all sorts of things, and like she loves the projects that we do. Remember while we were making our dream book, she's like, I want one. I want all my dreams down. I was like, wow. Goal achieved. And my husband's very supportive. And then I have a mastermind group of women who are peers and in different kinds of businesses. So I can, brainstorm with them and get feedback. And then I have a lot of friends too that help support more just like energetically and being like, go you, which I love. And we do that for each other. And then I also have a coach who at this point is more like helping me with like energetic alignments of things. It's been hard to find a business coach that I felt like had the experience of what I'm doing, because it's kind of an unusual thing to have so many different completely different kinds of business as one brand. And so I looked for a bunch of different business coaches and found somebody who I was like, oh, really, I just need all the energetics to align. So
Yes.
just help me with that.
Yes, totally get that. And that's sort of this edge that we hit, right? So where you really get that what you really need to do is just be aligned every day. And how do you have those energetic tools to do that? So I'm totally with you. And I love that. And of course you can't, it looks like you're doing it alone. So you're the face of your brand, but there's no way one human being can do all of it all the time, every day. We do have teams behind us. Even if they're just peers that are sort of like, you got this, girl, go for it, or have you thought of this, or have you tried that, or here's this new tool. So it's really important to not be an island, because we just don't function well that way. We're social beings. So I love that you're like, I've got a lot.
I'm like, I've got so many people. I feel really grateful for it though. And it's been like a goal of mine too. So it's not, I just know that like anyone watching this, it doesn't have that. It is a place I feel like I've been, and I think a lot of people are or have been. And so just because you see somebody who's like, I have a lot of support, I just would never want anyone to feel like, oh, and I don't. I want to feel like, and you create that. Like I consciously created it. It took, time and energy, and it was like a goal. It was a goal like written in my calendar. Like I'm going to create a supportive community around me. So it's definitely something anyone can do. And if you're feeling like your community isn't that supportive, that you can rearrange that community. You don't have to, you're not like set in stone in a community that isn't supportive. So start seeking out support and raising up other people. This is something I've been talking to my daughter a lot about, like, how do we raise up other women and other men so much that like they are like, they feel our support and therefore like want to reciprocate that. Not that you do it to reciprocate it, but because it feels good. And that's the kind of community we want to build.
Right. Absolutely. Because, that's an interesting point, the whole reciprocation thing. Like you do things because they feel good. There's also this sort of one-way relationships where you're constantly sort of not getting the reciprocated support back, which is a whole other topic I think we could talk about. But in general, when I love that intention, my intention is to create, this sort of cycle of supporting and being supported. And that feels so good and so generous to yourself and to others as well. So I'm curious, in terms of I know you have this, longer term sort of planning. How far out do you tend to plan, and how do you combine that with, and maybe this is more about like, I'm curious because this is what I try to figure out. Like, how do I plan enough to have a vision and intention, but also leave room for those magical sort of, oh, I never thought that was going to come. That was surprising and awesome. How do you do that? Do you intentionally create space for that, or do you just sort of feel your way?
I mean, I would say that I plan, it depends. Like right now I have a very clear plan for the next year and a half, but that's because I have something that I'm doing in a year and a half that requires a year and a half of work. I'm always open to being divinely led. I feel like, and everything can change, but I'm going to work down this path, and it seems like a good path. It's like been given to me this far, and I'm just going to keep working it. And if something changed, it would change. I'm actually more flexible than it seems in my planning, because we'll plan something, and then if something else comes up that's better, or something comes up that is necessary to change, but changing it is not a minor deal to me. I'm like, this is where I'm going. And if it changed, it wouldn't be because like something was shiny for a minute. It would be because like it has like gone through the process and the filters of my life to make sure that is actually what I should do differently. And I think that is the difference. I kind of feel like I see some people out there kind of like doing this all over the place. And not to say that things can't change, your plan can't change. There's flexibility and spontaneity in life, and you don't want to kill that. But I think that there has to be some degree of like commitment to a path, and that like you would veer off that path if it proved to be the right way to go, not just because like somebody else was doing it and it seemed fun, or, for a minute that sounded like a good idea.
Right.
So kind of my filtering process for my path.
I love that. Right. So it's not just shiny object syndrome, which we all, can have, especially when we're resisting our own growth sometimes, like in that moment of, this is getting really big. Poof, let me go over here.
Yeah.
And that's only an internal process that, but what I hear from you is these filters, which are very clear, maybe a set of questions, or letting it sit for a while, or having a trusted, partner or advisor that you go to and talk through it. Sometimes you don't even know what you think until you've said it in front of someone who really knows you, right? And knows what your vision is and can ask you key questions. So
Yeah.
really, why do you really want this? Is this something you can see growing? And you're like, no, I don't. I'm just distracted. So I love that you have a set of filters that feels like there's a match of like divine alignment. Like, yes, I'm open to change. I can trust that. And also, I also trust the process of, is this the right thing? Yes or no.
Yeah.
Moment.
And
So
filtering through, like is it aligned with your purpose? Is it aligned with your core vision? Is it like, there are some really clear things if you have in place to like filter things through. And a lot of times it could be like a minor yes. And that doesn't mean that, if it means that you can't do these other things, that it's sometimes just not worth it to distract yourself.
right. And I love the whole like, yes, but not right now. Like, yes, this goes on my list of things that would be amazing to do in the next 3 to 5 years, but not the second, because I am committed to this path, which is really where something like your planner comes in. Because if you don't have that core vision, then it's so easy to get distracted, even by yourself. And interestingly enough, people who are drawn to this, rituals for living, and I find that people who are drawn to my work too do tend to be more spiritually open and minded. So there's this like yin and yang of, I want to be open and fully trust, but the container also feels good. I'm not sure. And so, but this seems like a really beautiful balance, which is what drew me to it, because there is that flexibility of having the vision and also trusting that you can pivot when you need to. So I love that. And I love this light coming in through your window too. It's very divine right there. So I do have some sort of rapid fire questions that are a little shorter and more fun. You already mentioned that you do some meditation, and I am obsessed with the magic of the morning. And I teach quite a bit of morning ritual practice as a foundational daily practice. And you already said you're a mom of a young one. And I know I started my morning practice when my little guy was under 1, I think, or no, under 2, between 1 and 2. So I know the challenges. But do you have anything that are foundational rituals, self-care rituals for you that you do, at least intend to do every morning or do every morning?
Yeah, I would say that like the thing that I have really found to be the thing I always do, and it makes the biggest difference, is actually just waking up and checking my tendency to have like a wake up and then like oh my gosh, there's all this stuff. Right. And so I would try to wake up in the morning and have like my first thought be like what I'm so excited about today, or something like along those lines, like today's going to be the best day ever, and to create that for yourself so that it is like the first thing you think of when you wake up. I actually don't know that there's anything else I've ever done that has given me as much difference in my life as that. To just say like, foundationally, today is going to be a good day. And that doesn't mean that like nothing ever goes wrong in my life. Things still go wrong, even though I have that thought. But I've kind of like started with that idea that it's going to be a good day no matter what happens. And I would say that that makes the biggest difference in my life. And then I also, I intend to meditate every morning. I get it done quite a bit, but not every day. Sometimes I meditate in the evening or in the middle of the day. And then I also, often I write a little bit in the morning, just kind of like intentions for the day. And then exercise. I'm like such a huge fan of exercise. It makes me a happier, nicer human being.
Awesome. Yes, you've totally confirmed my theory that successful entrepreneur mamas do have the 3 basics: mind, body, spirit, every morning in some way. It really does. It never fails. There's something that you do every morning to ignite those parts of yourself. So I love it. And like you said, it's not every day in the same way. So, and that's just life. So
Yeah.
be gentle with yourself if you're not doing all those things every single day, please.
Yeah.
Okay. So next question is, what would you say is your superpower?
Surprisingly, I would say that my superpower is actually just delegation. I am a really good delegator, which I have taken a long time to feel like that's even a skill. Like I remember having a coach being like, you are an amazing delegator. And me being like, so I'm good at telling other people to do things. I actually have zero talent of my own. But it's true. I'm very good at seeing other people's strengths and giving them parts of a project or a whole project. And then like kind of cheering them on along the way. So I'm a really good delegator. I also I'd say my other superpower is like creating beautiful experiences, whether that's like in a space, at an event, in an object. I have a knack for that.
Totally do, because I can remember being in the spa, and even though it's right on this main terminal area, I felt like there was such like a little cave. I actually told someone, it's like you're in this little cave and it's dark and there's candles and you just feel like you're away from everything. So yes, you definitely, I definitely confirm that. And also the whole delegation thing, I think that's probably one of the keys to your success, because so many women have a tendency to do everything themselves, especially in the first few years, and really wait a long time to hire someone or trust someone or let go of something. And I can speak very intimately about that, because that's exactly what I deal with for myself. Like, I can do it fast. Why would I give it to someone else? I can just do it. So that's a really beautiful skill set to have. And it is definitely a skill set, because I speak with my VA and I'm like, I don't know what to give you. What do you want? Like, I don't know. I'm getting better at it, but I can definitely see it as a very highly valuable skill set, because you can't do all of it, right?
I can't do it all.
I'm sure you don't want to either.
No, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I like really don't. I'm always like,
right.
who can be doing this besides me?
That's great. I love it. Okay, so final question is, what are you most proud of?
Most proud of? Oh, that's so hard. I'm honestly like just very proud of my children. I mean, it's weird to be proud of a 1-year-old. She's doing a great job. I was like walking, she's got some words. But my 8-year-old, she's just like such a thoughtful human being. And she really is self-reflective and understands like social dynamics, and she's very emotional. She's a Scorpio. She's actually like but then is like self-reflective afterwards and like sees how she can grow. And I feel like, oh my gosh, if I could just give you if I can give you any skills in life, it's like how to negotiate your emotions, how to like dream big, and how to have like a lot of confidence in yourself. And she definitely has all of those things right now. So I feel like so proud of her. And I don't know how much of that I can really be proud of myself. I don't know, maybe she was born with a lot of it. But I really am very proud of her. I'm also, I'm really proud of creating a movement that feels beyond myself. And it's actually something that I'm like in awe of, kind of, because I know it hasn't just been me. It's been my team and like our therapists and even like the spa attendants who are cleaning foot baths. Like everyone is on the same page working towards a mission. And for sure, some people are just there to like make money and go home. But while they're there, they have a clear intention of what we're trying to do for our clients. And people that are fulfilling our orders, are making our products, and organizing our magazine, they're all together in this movement that I feel like even if I wasn't here, there's now so much momentum around this movement that we're creating that it feels like it would inevitably go on without me. And that feels really good.
Is the movement like the real intentional sort of core, is it around the rituals for living? Like how would you put it in your own words? What is your movement intention for the movement?
I would say that our intention for the movement, like with everything, is to help create more like vibrant, centered, peaceful people.
Mm.
And everything that we do comes back to that. So when we think about doing something or even putting an ad somewhere or marketing in some way, our goal is always to create more of that in the moment, not even to like get people to come back to us for that, which obviously we are a business, but to think like, how can we create something beautiful so that even your experience of it in the ad is something that can create peace for you in that moment, or a little bit of like centeredness for you in that moment. And so everything that we do is coming back to that movement, and that feels so great. And I love that my staff now is always like, oh, what if we tried to do this? Or what if we did this? Or they'll be like, that's a little off, you know? And so that movement feels so good to me.
So everyone's on the same page. And so, okay, well, just one more curiosity question. So how do you infuse your team and everyone? Because I felt it for sure. Well, I didn't even know it was yours. And I felt what I remember and started sharing with people naturally, like, you have to go here, check it out. I felt that sort of thoughtfulness of the not just the cleanliness and the beautiful of it, but really just the experience felt like an experience. Like I walked in sort of like, oh God, and I walked out just totally at peace and ease, and everyone really facilitated that process along the way. So well done. So is it like a weekly meeting? Is it setting intentions to do it? Like, how do you actually physically infuse your team with this shared vision of how you want the movement to proceed?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is, I don't have team meetings with my whole staff. Honestly, there are people that work for us that I don't actually even know personally because they live in Portland and they're new. And so I don't get to have like I used to. So I feel like at the beginning, I was able to really be there and be the person infusing that into the culture. And I think maybe because I did that so much, the culture started to take on its own way of being. And I really love that happened. And so now they infuse that within each other. And we really, like when we hire people, when we talk to people, I mean, I remember, hiring therapists and being like, this is why I'm here. This is our mission and this is why I'm here. And unless this is why you're here, then this isn't going to work, because we all have to be there for the common purpose of creating something bigger. And I think that is something that's actually very appealing to a lot of our staff. And I think it actually drew them to us. So it actually has made hiring even easier because we are clear about what we are looking for, and the right people are drawn to us. And so I actually think that it's kind of like a self-perpetuating thing now, where they spread it to each other. They have a lot of passion for it. And with my team that I do meet with really regularly, we review it a lot. Like, how are we doing on this? Like, are we sticking to this? When we're making decisions, we go back to it. So it's not just something that we've said, it's something that we practice all the time. And they practice it with their teams and they practice it with their teams. So everyone is just infused with it.
I love it. So like those corporate terms of mission, purpose, and clarity really does create that resonance. And I love it because it can really be applied to, the coaches and creatives that are in my audience who are listening. When you are so clear on what you're doing and why, there is a resonance that automatically happens and people are drawn to you. And it's not so much the hustle anymore. It's more of the, how do I keep realigning? So I love that you have that in there. So
yeah.
Thank you so much. I honestly could keep talking and talking. Your groundedness and your energy is so beautiful, and what's happening on your screen is fabulous too.
Yeah, I feel like I can't get away from the sunshine. I'm sorry if it's
right there. It's like your aura is just coming out. So, so where can people find you if they're curious to know more about? Of course, I'll have a link to this, and the women in my group who are joining at the top 2 levels are getting this right now. So I'm going to be ordering some for my ladies. But where can people find you if they want to know more about you and your work?
So thedragontree.com was where we house all of those things. And then I have my own like personal blog where I blog about, more like business in my own path, which I don't do through the Dragon Tree on brianaborten.com. If anyone wants to come, you can also link to all my other stuff from there. But I like to have a little bit of a space where I can, talk about business and talk about things I wouldn't normally talk about through our Dragon Tree brand.
Perfect. I will make sure all those links are below. I just want to say how grateful I am that I stepped into that Dragon Tree that first day and just have been able to connect with you and learn about your business. It really is an inspiration. And I know you're doing, a lot of physical stuff and have a spas and a book and things like that. And it seems like, there's so many lessons to pull into even the service-based businesses who have are drawing in clients and creating programs to really have that mission, purpose, and clarity and allow it to resonate and create a movement. So I love that it's showing in your family and in your, just what you're creating. It's coming through loud and clear. So I wish you just the best of success. And I'm looking forward to watching you grow. And I can't wait to see what you're up to in the next year and a half. I'm always
so much. It's going to be so fun.
Awesome. I'm going to check out your magazine, make sure we link to your profiles as well. So thank you so much for being here. I've really enjoyed listening to you talk. I can see why people want to be around you. It's very peaceful and grounded. So thank you. And thank you everyone for listening and watching. And if you have been inspired to sort of explore your own mission and purpose, or to check out the planner, or taking a bit of wisdom away, please leave a comment below letting us know. And if you feel like you know someone who can benefit from listening or watching, please feel free to share. As always, thank you so much. Take amazing care of yourself and have an awesome day. This is Elena Lipson, your Divine Self-Care Mentor, today with Briana Borten.
Bye.
Bye.